25th anniversary Star Wars. How does it measure up? I haven't seen it in years. It's probably been like 5 years or 6 years since I've seen this movie. And I've always liked the prequels, but I've garnered a new appreciation for this movie. Now, my experience, packed house, had a fat kid who was laughing at every single thing Jar Jar said, hysterically. His mom even shushed him at one point. I would shush him normally. I shush people all the time, but I was like, I can't shush people for laughing at something that's supposed to be funny to kids. And I was like, fucking fat kid. But, overall, pros and cons. Cons, I don't like Jar Jar. He overstays his welcome. Keep him on Naboo, and then have him with that scene later where he says, we have a grand army. Never make him general of that grand army. General of the Bombad army. Get out of here. And that whole underwater sequence where he's in the ship with them would have been so much more, like, scary and tense if he would shut the fuck up. So, yeah, don't like Jar Jar. And I don't like the CGI when everybody else, like, other aliens have makeup and practical effects. And I don't like Anakin blowing up the droid control ship. This is dumb luck. You could say the Force was stupid luck. And I don't like the intercutting of the epic lightsaber duel with the Gungan fight. I'm like, have this fight first, then have that fight. I don't want to go back and forth. And yeah, pros of this movie is one, very creative. If you take the time to look at this as a Palpatine origin story and not a Vader origin story, it's a whole different experience. Because I never liked the prequels as Darth Vader's backstory. I always thought Darth Vader should have been like a general who wanted order, and Obi-Wan's who wants freedom, and it's like chaos and order, and they have different ways of going about saving the galaxy. I think that would have been a much more interesting philosophical way of doing this, but they went with the Dracula origin story, and I was like, eh! So I don't care for this. I never cared for Anakin. I never liked Anakin in any story. But I do love Palpatine. I do think that the politics that people say is boring, I disagree. I think the politics is very interesting. This guy's plot is genius. You cause a conflict on a small planet with a trade federation that is like the central trade and almost like banking system that's corrupting all the politicians, the bureaucrats, as he says, throughout the galaxy. And just like in real life, they don't want to take people down, these politicians, because they line their pockets. And they're like, oh, well, let's send a commissary, whatever the hell he says, to your planet to confirm these allegations. Because there's no way to prove it. There's no video evidence or anything like that. It's all a myth. But we have to confirm it. And she's like, and then he goes and he's like, look, now you see who really controls the Senate. The bureaucrats. And I love that. Because he knew they would never go up against their big trade federation. That's genius. So he has some corrupt deal with them. They tax the trade federation. Trade federation's pissed. He knows that these guys run shit. The bureaucrats will not, move this along quick enough to not get the citizens killed. Then he goes in there and says, now you got to call for an impeachment of this man. No faith in Chancellor Valorum. And then they have to elect someone new. They have the sympathy vote, and he gets elected into power. I'm like, what a brilliant little strategy. And it's so something like the United States would do. Start a conflict somewhere else just to get sympathizers, just to pull something else. And I'm like, 9/11. And a lot of things. USA probably did. But I'm like, what a brilliant little political plan. And then Amidala having a decoy was always a great twist. I always love that twist. I love that she's a cool queen who's out there killing people. Well, not killing people, shooting robots. But she's up in there. She's up in there throwing hands. I love their bodyguard. Yeah, the pod race is phenomenal. One of the greatest scenes of all time. Like, if I made a top 10 greatest scenes, pod race is in it. Watching it on the big screen for the first time, so tense. Lightsaber duel is fantastic. I love Qui-Gon Jinn, big fan. I love his subtle rebelliousness. It's like tasteful rebellion. He's not angry, he's not emotional, he's just disobeying politely. Love Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor is the best casting decision ever. And yeah, Darth Maul's a badass. He's Satan. I don't like that close-up when they show his horns. You see that they're glued on, obviously. But overall, his look is so good. But Palpatine, this is a Palpatine trilogy. So, yeah. I'm going to give it 3.5. I love the movie. I really do. I think it's a very creative, very entertaining movie. I just think that it is only marred by a annoying character that's persistent throughout the film. And if you're putting in the franchise, Anakin's origin story, as much as Anakin is necessary to the plot with the greatest, one of the greatest Star Wars scenes of all time, I never cared for his story in this. So, yeah, and I think the Gungan intercutting thing, yeah, irritating. But overall, really do love the Phantom Menace. I really do. I think it's a very entertaining, creative, good, flawed movie. Yeah. So, what do you think about it? Let me know. And did you see it in theaters? What was your experience? Subscribe to my channel, please, and thank you.